He commanded 100 ships, 100, the largest contingent of any Greek king, and the title to match, Anax-andron, Lord of Men, the supreme overlord of the entire Greek world. Every Greek king answered to him, and by the end of the myth, he has sacrificed his daughter, humiliated his greatest warrior, nearly dissolved his own army by accident, and been murdered in a bath by his wife. It is not a story about bad luck. It is not even a story about a curse. It is a story about what power looks like when it is never once paired with wisdom, and what it costs everyone in range. Agamemnon holds the title of Anax-andron, but that authority is constantly contested and constantly self-undermining. He holds the scepter that symbolizes divine royal authority and was crafted by the god Hephaestus, but he has no idea what to do with it. Over the next few minutes, this argument moves through a beach where winds will not blow, a stolen woman in front of 10,000 soldiers, and a bath from which nobody escapes clean. Here is something worth understanding before any of this happens. Agamemnon did not build his army out of loyalty. He built it out of a promise. Years earlier, every king hoping to marry the famously beautiful Helen had sworn an oath to her father. Whoever she chose, the rest would still defend that marriage if it was ever threatened. Agamemnon's brother Menelaus won her. When Helen left for Troy, that oath became a war. 100 kings did not answer Agamemnon's call out of loyalty to him. They answered because they had sworn to. Picture him at Aulis with that fleet finally assembled. His own 100 ships, 1,000 more from across Greece, the greatest force the ancient world has seen. And it is going nowhere. The winds have died. The goddess Artemis is holding the sea still, and her price for letting the fleet sail is not gold, and it is not the sacrifice of animals. Her price is Iphigenia, Agamemnon's daughter. Agamemnon does not simply break down in horror. He weighs it, what turning back would mean for his reputation, his alliance, his place in history. And he chooses the war. He chooses the war. His daughter is brought to the altar under the pretense that she is to be married to Achilles. She is killed for a favorable wind, and the fleet sails. What makes this the worst thing Agamemnon does is not that he kills her. The ancient world understood hard sacrifices in wartime. It is the way he kills her, with calculation, with deliberation, weighed out like a decision on a ledger. The man whose entire role is to protect his household is the first to sacrifice it for his own ambition. Clytemnestra is left at home with the knowledge that her husband killed their daughter for a wind. She will be there when he returns. She will remember. The Iliad does not begin at the start of the war. It begins in year 10 with a plague, and with Agamemnon doing what Agamemnon does. The plague is punishment for Agamemnon's refusal to return a captive girl to her father, a priest of Apollo. He is told exactly why the plague has come. He relents and returns her, but now he has lost a prize, and in this world, that is no small matter. To lose a prize is to be seen by everyone watching as diminished. So Agamemnon turns to Achilles. He will take Briseis, Achilles' own war prize, his captive woman, as compensation. Here is what makes this the central catastrophe of the entire war. Agamemnon knows before he does it that Achilles is the better fighter. He says so himself. The seizure is an act of pure compensatory dominance, rank asserted over merit, specifically because merit is threatening. Achilles is better at the one thing that matters at Troy, and Agamemnon cannot allow that excellence to exist without subordination to his authority. In front of the entire assembled Greek army, he strips Achilles of Briseis. Achilles withdraws from the war, and the Greeks begin to die. Not as a figure of speech. Most of what remains of the Iliad traces directly back to this single decision. Nestor, the wise and respected counselor to Agamemnon, warned him not to do it. Achilles told him his authority meant nothing without the men who enacted it. He did it anyway. To test his troops' morale, Agamemnon calls an assembly and announces that the war is over. Time to sail home. It falls flat immediately. The troops run for the ships, every one of them. Odysseus has to physically hold soldiers back from the water. The commander of the largest army the ancient world has ever assembled nearly ends his own campaign in a single afternoon, because he misread his own men so badly that they took the exit the moment it was offered. Later, still stalled in year 10, still without Achilles, Agamemnon sends an embassy offering him an extraordinary set of gifts: cities, gold, horses, and Briseis herself, returned untouched. But he frames every gift as the generosity of a superior toward an inferior. His actual words: "Let Achilles yield to him, since I am the more kingly." Achilles refuses, not because the compensation is inadequate, but because Agamemnon still will not admit he was wrong. The war continues to bleed. He holds the scepter. He cannot conceive that holding it might one day require him to be wrong, out loud, in front of other people. Troy falls. After 10 years, the war ends. Agamemnon loads his ships and sails home with his victory, his fleet, and Cassandra, the captured Trojan princess he has decided to bring back as his new prize. Apparently, 10 years was not enough time to consider what that homecoming would look like. He arrives at Mycenae. Clytemnestra is waiting. She has laid out an expensive crimson cloth from the palace doors to his feet and invites him to walk on it, to step as a god might on the wealth of the house. Agamemnon hesitates. He knows exactly what this means. Walking on it is an honor the Greeks believed belonged only to the gods. To do so as a mortal is to invite the jealous, punishing attention the gods reserve for those who overreach. And beneath that religious fear sits a more practical one. What will his own people think, watching their king behave as something more than a man? He says so. He refuses. Then Clytemnestra talks him into it, in his own doorway, in front of his own household. The man who commanded kings, who stripped Achilles of his prize in front of 10,000 soldiers, cannot read the one room that actually matters. He steps onto the cloth. He walks inside. His authority is total in the world outside. Armies, kings, the whole war. Inside his own house, it is nothing. The woman he left behind for a decade has had that entire decade to understand exactly how this house works. He never has. He has also brought Cassandra, who, cursed to see the future and never be believed, tells everyone outside the doors exactly what is about to happen. She will be killed. He will be killed. She walks through the doors anyway, because she understands that being right has never once stopped anything from happening. Inside, Agamemnon gets into a bath. Clytemnestra and her lover kill him there, tangled in cloth, unable to move, in the most private room in the house. The commander of the largest army in the ancient world, dies not on a battlefield, not in armor, but in his own bath. His ghost appears later, in the Odyssey, to warn Odysseus about trusting his wife. Advice from a man who still does not understand why he died in the first place. His death resolves nothing. His son Orestes kills Clytemnestra to avenge him, and that act of vengeance sets off a cycle of blood guilt so severe that, in the plays that follow, it takes the invention of an entirely new institution, a court of law, to bring it to an end. Unaccountable power does not merely destroy the person who holds it. It generates a crisis that outlasts him by generations. We have moved from a beach where the wind will not blow and a merciless, calculating father to 10,000 soldiers watching a prize stripped from the man who keeps them alive, to a doorway where a returning king steps onto crimson cloth and fails to see the trap. Each moment the same structure, each one a degree closer to the bath. The myth never suggests Agamemnon should not have been king, or that someone else would have done it better, or that power itself is the problem. What it suggests is something more uncomfortable. That wisdom is not something power comes with. It is something power must be paired with deliberately, or it destroys. The daughter at Aulis, the alliance at Troy, the household at Mycenae, and finally, the man himself. Agamemnon had everything: the ships, the title, the scepter, the war. None of it was enough to keep him alive in his own home. So the question this myth has been leaving open for 3,000 years is not whether power and wisdom can coexist. It is whether a man who already has power has any real reason to go looking for wisdom at all. If this is the kind of history and mythology you want more of, subscribe. There's more of this coming. A like helps more than you'd think, and if you've got thoughts, corrections, or something you'd rather we cover next, the comments are genuinely read. This is our third video. Tell us if it worked.